Welcome to Around the Bases, the pop culture and sports podcast with your host.
Charlie Seymour.
And I'm Tim Sternberg. Hit it, Nick. Welcome back to another awesome edition of Around the Bases, the pop culture and sports podcast with the birthday guy, Charlie Seymour. Charlie, how are you doing, buddy?
Hey, we're already a couple days past now.
I know, but it's a whole month celebration. What's going on?
Whole month. Oh man. Well then we should have been celebrating your birthday too.
Oh no, that's okay.
Whole month.
You and I are the same way with the birthdays. It's quite all right. So how you doing, buddy?
Not bad. How about yourself?
You know what? It's a good day. Every day you wake up breathing and living, it's a good day. Plus, there's something happening soon.
I think we're just a couple days away now. A few days.
Yeah. This Thursday, folks, at 9 o'clock Eastern and 8 o'clock Central and Mountain and all that fun stuff is Trivial Pursuit on the CW with me.
Do you happen to know which one you'll be?
I'm going to be in the first half of the episode.
Excellent. So 8 to 8:30 Chicago time for all you Central Time viewers.
And then you can see my other buddies, Matt and Carrie, on the second half of the episode. So yeah, I'm excited.
Excellent. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I don't even, the way they filmed it, I can't really tell too much, but we only know what happened in our half hour. So I don't even know what happened in the second half of my own episode. So it'll be cool to kind of watch that. And I don't even think I know what happened in my half.
They've kept the lid tight.
Oh yeah, everyone has. We have to, but I don't even know how I did. I forgot. I'm kidding. So, but we'll talk about it on next week's podcast.
Yeah, can't really say anything. I know I told you this, but I've yet to watch an episode because I wanted the first one that I saw to be yours. So looking forward to it Thursday night.
Thank you, buddy. You're gonna enjoy the show. It's actually cool. You're gonna want to watch all the other episodes too.
Oh, I know for a fact we're gonna want to, but we wanted to make sure get yours first because it's not like buddy. It wouldn't. It's not like it's it'll spoil it out of order or anything like that. So
no, not at all. And actually, yeah, it's not. The order doesn't matter. And and we have our buddy. I won't tell you how he did, but Josh from We Are Family, also a cast member.
Yeah, he and his also was on a week or two before yours. I'll definitely go back and watch that one as well.
Yeah, it's a fun episode. So in the pop culture world, I guess we should start off with the biggest circus that's around right now, and that is the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight that just ended as we're recording this episode. Well, shocker, folks, a 27-year-old Jake Paul defeated a 58-year-old Mike Tyson. Wow, surprise. What's your thoughts?
The number one takeaway, I think, was that it was buffering for like half the country. I don't know if you saw Twitter.
I heard about that.
There was like 8 out of 10 trending topics were Netflix involved, and I'd say 90% of them were negative.
I have to say,
eventually, it seems like they got it fixed right as like the Paul Tyson fight was actually starting. Like round one, you hear something you'll never hear uttered. Antonio Brown was live streaming from the stadium. He was getting more people be able to watch it than Netflix was for a while. It was embarrassing for Netflix.
You know how I feel about Antonio Brown.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about him.
we don't go there on this podcast. But yeah.
It was a tough fight to watch. Yeah, it was tough.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't watch it. I did not watch the circus, folks. I will say.
Here's what I will tell you. It'll be there. Like you can pop onto Netflix and say, "Oh, you want to watch the fight?" Don't. That's my advice for you. Don't waste like 45 minutes, 50 minutes
of my life.
No, don't do it.
It's
if you want to watch the fight before that one was worth a watch. The women's fight was the best one of the night, easily.
But speaking of live streaming and Netflix, apparently this is not the first time they've had issues like this. They had earlier this year, they had the season finale recap reunion show of Love is Blind that they tried to do live. That was I didn't
I
watch
heard
the
about
show,
that.
but
And
yeah.
no pressure, Netflix, but they have two Christmas football games,
Ooh,
and the Chiefs playing one of the games and the Ravens playing the other. I'm sure people will be just fine if it buffers then, right?
that's
Christmas Day, Patty Mahomes.
you know what's
Netflix will
interesting?
be working.
The Tom Brady roast did not buffer. It actually was wonderful and went well. So
Yeah, that's true. And that had a ton of people. So I wonder what that was. Maybe just because it wasn't a sport, like it's something to do with the more cameras
mm.
needed and the movement. Because didn't they
Well,
host another award show once before that I think was pretty good as well live?
I think so. I think to the fact is, listen, this fight was broadcast, was advertised all over the place, pushed in social media. It was, I'm sure the viewership was off the charts. I mean, Mike
They're
Tyson is a
claiming that's what
legend.
crashed it,
Tyson
the
is a
viewership.
legend, and Jake Paul is a clown. I'll say that. That's my opinion. But the two together, and there you go. I was rooting for Tyson all the way, of
Of
course.
course, you have to be. Anyone
Yeah,
in our age range would have to be.
absolutely. He didn't eat his ear or anything like that. Nothing like that
No,
happened.
no. But
Only
he was
Holyfield.
biting his glove a lot. They asked him about it in the post interview, and he said he had a biting fixation. And then the reporter immediately said,
Really?
and then the reporter immediately said, "Okay, we don't need to talk about this anymore." Like he was
Evander,
scared.
listen, let's talk to Evander Holyfield about
Honestly,
that.
though, for me, the bigger takeaway was the fact that, like you said, Jake Paul, half his age, easily should have won, which he did. But the fact that it went 8 full rounds,
That's
he
embarrassing.
couldn't knock him out. I mean,
Embarrassing.
some are saying,
Come
well,
on.
maybe he didn't want to. I think Jake would have done it if he could.
The article I read, it basically said that neither of the opponents were in danger at any time.
That's a
I
fair way
mean,
to
that
put it.
says it. That's,
Fair. It's fair.
that's pretty. Apparently, Jake, you could probably cement this. Jake Paul had more jabs and stuff. I guess is
Yes,
what they're saying.
he definitely threw more punches.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I heard. And listen, I don't know. I guess Mike Tyson did it because he needed the money, or he wanted the money. I mean, who wouldn't want the money? But I mean, at some point, when
He didn't rule out another fight, which was no, he needs to rule it out. It was not good.
yeah, I mean,
Unless he's going to fight another 58-year-old.
I'm trying to think back, and I'm gonna Google this because I'm really curious at when Muhammad Ali had his last fight. Because I know Muhammad Ali and also George Foreman did fight until they were much older. Especially Foreman, I know, fought.
Yeah, they
Uh,
did.
yeah,
But I mean,
Ali
if he's going to
fought.
do it again, it's got to be someone closer to his age.
Ali's last fight was on December 11th, 1981 in Nassau, Bahamas against Trevor Berbick, and he lost a 10-round decision.
81. So how old was he for that? In that,
Um, um, Year born. Let me see. I'll tell you. He was born in 42.
so he was
So,
39.
oh, yeah, he was much younger than Tyson. But mind you, also I don't know when he was diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Right.
So
And I
that's
think Foreman
interesting.
probably fought a little bit later into his age.
I think so too. Um, George Foreman's last fight was when he was almost 49 years old. So Tyson at 58 is woo.
And yeah, George Foreman was born in 49.
Yeah. Wow. It was an HBO special. You remember those days when HBO had all the fights?
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
They might need to get it back.
Oh man. So speaking of fights, I'm gonna do a transition to first
That was
base
nice.
as we do.
Speaking of
Thank
fights,
you.
that was real nice. Now you could go multiple ways. Let's see which one he
Ooh,
takes.
let's go to House of Villains.
There it is. That's what I was expecting.
You have to. Come on. You have to go to House of Villains because you know what? This latest episode was full of fights. I mean, Victoria was basically fighting with everybody.
And they showed you the full length roller coaster ride of them talking, not talking, fighting, not talking, fighting.
Yeah, what was it? So it began with they were eating. The episode opens with, Teresa and the gang eating at the table, and she comes over to kind of eat with them, and they're like, words are exchanged, and she's like, "I don't want to eat with you anyway," and she goes over to the couch with her plate and starts like pathetically eating out of her plate. And
Yep.
she's talking, and they're still talking against each
And then
other,
Lars
and
is like, "Why did you come sit over here? No one invited you." And she's like, "Teresa invited me." And Teresa's like, "I invited her." And Lars is like, "Oh, well, we don't care."
And how about this, right? So so then Lars, Teresa's like, "Well, you're being mean to her," and Lars is like, "I've never been mean to her." And then they rewind the tape, and like
And it's
20
just
seconds
30
early,
seconds later. Yeah.
I
He
laughed out
says, "You're a
loud.
piece of shit," or something like that.
I laughed out loud when they did that. The editing is unbelievable. Like, okay, you know what? Not enough credit is given to reality editors. Like, reality editors are the bomb, especially with Survivor and House of Villains this season. My
Yeah,
God,
we
you
talked about
guys
we talked about the Survivor editing
last week.
With Andy looking for them. That was gold.
Oh my God, that is so that wasn't even, dude. That wasn't
Yeah.
even it. That wasn't
No,
even it.
we both,
We're
I
not
know where
there
you,
yet.
yeah.
We're not there yet. But I want to talk about this challenge real quick.
Okay, challenge first, and then we can get to Wes.
Uh-huh. Like he's the Godfather now, in my opinion, but I'll tell you why in a minute. So this challenge was amazing. So basically, I've seen versions of this challenge before on Big Brother, on other reality shows, right?
You know what it reminded me the most of? Rosie brought it up too. What we just watched on Netflix, or no, not Netflix, the USA one.
Oh, yes. Yes.
It
Like the
was like
box
the
challenge.
exactly.
Yes. That kudos to Rosie. She's absolutely right. So basically what it was, the challenge was it's blood. So they're in like a Dexter type of, they're in the layer, but it's covered in plastic like Dexter would be chopping up
Yeah,
somebody or something. And so what they had to do is there was player number one, player number two. Player number one was responsible for pulling these two bags out of a box. And in the box, it would identify one bag as blood and one bag as plasma. And the bag that's blood would be the if the opened by whoever would be the one that would eliminate you from the competition. So the player number one's job with player number two was to put each bag beside, and player number two had to decide if player number one was giving them the blood or the plasma. And yeah, it was good. I love that kind of stuff.
and it seemed to almost 80-90% being the one to actually guess was more beneficial than being the one to place. They were
Exactly.
reading
I
them
saw
like a
that.
book.
I saw that. And so Candy wins the challenge.
Over
And
Victoria in the end.
I think Candy winning a challenge is probably the best scenario for good TV, in my opinion. I think Candy winning provided us probably with one of the most momentous moments of reality television that I have seen this year. And I watched this and I wanted to text you. I texted you immediately going, "Have you seen House of Villains yet?" Because I just watched it tonight. And I was like, "What?" And I know your
Yeah,
mouth dropped to the floor when this happened. So
it's
Charlie, you want to tell us what happened?
well, they don't really. So this year they've introduced a couple new twists. Victoria won with and we'll just say the word idol because it was a thing like an
The
idol.
rooster with a
It was a
rooster.
rooster. It was a rooster.
A rooster
The
blocker.
PG version.
Yeah.
So with that being played, Wes decided, well, who knows what other things could be there. And it just so happens that, as you mentioned, Candy won. It then, speaking of reality editing, they edited Candy to multiple times looking for another idol or device, whatever, what have you. And Wes brings up this brilliant idea of just making one up to someone who had been looking for them. So it was the perfect storm.
Yes. So what happens next?
So Wes goes to Candy and says, "Listen, I don't want to blow up your supervillain of the week or anything, but I have this power and it can basically replace you. I don't want to use it, so don't put me up and I won't use it." And then he very quickly shows Candy Candy looks and kind of freaks out. And then after a little bit of time passes and Candy's gotten to talk to some people, Candy realizes, wait, I didn't actually read it. I just saw it. So I'm going to call out Wes, which Wes then, in a weird way, this almost helped Wes because Wes was able to admit to a partial lie, but not the full lie. He was able to say, okay, I lied about the fact that I could take away your supervillain, but I can be safe no matter what, and it is just a waste. And then Candy reads it, confirms it, and at this point now she buys it and believes it. So that was interesting.
So
So
here's my thing. So a couple of things about this. First of all, Wes is absolutely brilliant. To what he did was before the taping of the show even started, he wrote down, created this letter or this certificate that he has this ability, and he had with him what, a little snake or something. I don't know
yeah, a
what the
little
charm was.
charm on a necklace.
And so he devised this thing, which is interesting because in the first season of House of Villains, there wasn't such a thing like this. And so not only did he take a chance in developing this, what ends up happening with the rooster that Victoria finds, it actually almost added value to this thing that he created, and he becomes basically a master villain. He is showing Candy this made up idol that he made. Similar to Survivor, you see made up idols sometimes, but he's giving Candy this made up idol that he made, showing her. And all of a sudden, Candy's like, I'm not gonna put him up, right? But here's where I think Candy did some wrong. I would still flush out that letter. I would make him use it and put him up. Like, why wouldn't you do? That's where I'm confused.
Maybe Candy was thinking then they'd have to put up four people instead of three. So, in this way, you kind of curry a little favor with Wes. If Wes wins next week, probably safe.
Yeah, I think similar to what you just said, I think the only relatively reasonable explanation was that Candy was afraid that he would go after.
Right.
So, yeah. Um wow, so Candy ends up putting up uh
Victoria,
which wasn't happy.
Larsa,
Larsa.
and
Mr. Slick.
Safari.
Safari. I call him Mr. Slick.
Yeah.
um so Victoria in the preview is already talking about, well, if it's me and Larsa, you got to vote for me. I need your votes. And so I'm wondering, maybe Safari kind of wins the immunity and it's Larsa
Very
versus
possible.
Victoria. We'll see.
And that's what Candy wants, is to break up the two fighting. So
Which
it's a major
I
win for
wouldn't want to
Wes.
do that.
Again, Wes safe for a whole week.
Why would you want to get out the cancer? You want the cancer to distract everyone else from you. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, that's interesting.
Yeah, Wes is playing a real good game.
Real good game.
He definitely watches Survivor. That making up the idol, that was definitely something he picked up and put in his little bag of tricks.
So now he still has this bag in her. Now he still has it, and for sure everyone else is going to know about it now that Candy knows about it. So interesting,
But yeah, we'll see how
interesting,
that plays out.
interesting. It's going to get to the point where Joel is like, "This isn't nothing."
Yeah,
I can't wait for
this
that moment.
is not an
An
hidden
idol.
immunity idol. He's
All
gonna
right.
get his Jeff moment.
Speaking of idols, let's go to second base in Survivor. Ooh.
I think that's already third by now, right?
Oh, third base. Yes. Whoa. I'm a little slow on the uptake. Um,
You hesitated,
so
but then the right fielder bobbled the ball and you took third.
yes, and Lindor tried to throw me out, but couldn't get me, and I mean,
You're too quick now.
too quick for Francisco Lindor. So Survivor. Ooh, ooh. What a tribal council that was, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
So I would say this episode is full of people that don't know where they want to take their game, would you say?
There were lots of different targets. People, a lot of different people wanted to do a lot of different things. It was a big power struggle.
Yeah, I mean, there was a number of names that were thrown out throughout the episode. I know it started early on with Sam's name being thrown out there, like Sam, Sam, Sam. Um, and then
You
we
had Kyle's
heard
name out there
Kyle, because Kyle for the first time didn't have immunity. So,
and got how many votes did Kyle get again? Oh, right, zero.
dude, what the F? Like, this was the vote to get Kyle out. Like, what are people thinking? This
Yeah,
dude is gonna it was a
people are
blip.
people are overthinking it a little too much.
Oh my God.
There's still too many people left where you can't leave them in.
So how is Saul the choice over Kyle? I don't understand. I
Yeah,
don't.
I don't get it.
So let me we'll kind of I mean so basically there's you have the immunity challenge. We go to trial. It's really not anything to more important to talk about. Would
Well,
you
they
agree?
did, interestingly enough, this time they did have to decide on their own teams of two. So they started with basically five teams of two, and the first, second, and third place through the first stage advanced. And then the last two teams out lost their vote.
And the first two teams that won got a reward. Um, so I have to think about Sam's judgment in picking Andy immediately for the challenge. I when he did that, I was like, oh dude,
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Um, yeah,
They
so
they ended up having to play back for their vote.
they
They were the
did.
other team, right? And
They
then
had to
Carolyn and
they had to play Jenga,
yeah,
basically.
that was wild.
That's a crazy. That by the way, if we ever hang out, I think we played. Did we play this in Atlanta? I think we did. I don't know. I don't remember, but it makes me nervous. Jenga.
And I will say that particular game they played, they probably got like 10 to 12 pieces past. I kept thinking it's gonna fall, it's gonna fall, it's gonna fall, and they kept pushing it.
Especially that one piece when she had to like put it right on the edge. I was like, oh, she's done. It's done. And she ended up losing her vote anyway, but still. Um, yeah,
Carolyn,
I Caroline, sorry.
yeah,
But yeah, as soon as Caroline was putting that thing there, I was like, oh, it's gonna fall. It's gonna fall. But yeah. Man, they're all like back and forth, walking to tribal council and not, knowing who they're gonna vote for, and it gets to the point where they get to tribal and they still don't know. And they're literally, I mean, it used to be, I remember old school Survivor when I used to watch Survivor, it was very, very subtle, right? When they were talking at tribal, you didn't really see, so you kind of saw
none, yeah.
like little lips moving a little bit, but not really anything. Nowadays, in last
It
season and this season, it is
it is
full on.
evolved. Oh yeah. I
They
mean,
literally are
I don't
going
think there
next to
was a
each other.
single time in last night's or 2 nights ago's tribal when Jeff was talking to one member and you couldn't see at least two conversations happening on screen in front or behind. It was crazy. It
Multiple
was.
and it gets to the point too where he's bringing it up. He's like, oh, I'm seeing all these conversations happening. And so the question I want to ask you, Charlie, is this. So they're all this back and forth, but they end up united in voting Saul out. So was this all a ruse for Saul, or what was this? I'm confused
No,
that
I think they were genuinely torn. And then I think that so Kyle still it's been a while, but doesn't Kyle still have an idol hidden? I think he's had one forever. He just has never
uh
needed it because he keeps winning. And I think people were a little afraid of that, but
so
I don't know.
I have a theory. Okay. My theory is this. At one point during tribal, Saul brings up Sue's name, says, Sue, Sue, Sue. I think the name, Sue's name being brought up really scuttled a couple of
I
people and
thought
they didn't
Sam
want
was the
to.
one who wanted Sue out.
but I think Saul brought up Sue. Like it
Okay.
actually there he goes, who are you voting for? He goes, Sue. And goes, and someone said, when did that change? Like I thought we were voting out Kyle. And so and you notice too, like in this back and forth, we don't really hear Saul's name.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, I mean, I even looked, I don't always do this, but at the end of the episode, I looked at the votes and it was unanimous. Everyone
Eight
voted
to
for
one.
Saul.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, well, I don't know.
A teeny tweeted about that and wanted to vote for Saul, but in today's game, you don't want to be on the wrong side of the vote.
Yeah, but
So
but so let me, a question about that. Do, is the way Jeff reveals, I don't know if you know the answer to this, the way Jeff reveals the votes, once he has, the person has a majority, he goes, okay, the next person who leaves Survivor is this person. Does he reveal all the votes?
I not to the people. It ends there, and then you see them through they've always shown you at the end of the episode who each person
Right.
voted for in the time lapse.
So
But
why was Teeny so concerned if they don't, you know what I mean? Like they
because
know?
okay, I see what you're saying and why you're asking. I do think that in that scenario, Teeny can still say at the final tribal if she's there, I wanted to vote for Saul, but I knew I wasn't
Hmm,
with her, so I voted. Like she can still use that piece of information even if Jeff doesn't continue to you know, it could also be a bluff in that
that's a good
scenario.
point.
So
That's a good point. I didn't think of that. Wow. Yeah, that's very possible. I think that's actually because you think it through Big Brother too, right? And Big Brother, you don't want to be on the wrong side of the vote either. And I always
mhm.
wonder about that. I mean, I guess that you could flesh out, but it's always based on honesty of who voted for who.
Right,
At that
exactly.
point.
There's always whenever someone throws the hinky vote in Big Brother,
Yeah,
they're always trying to figure out who did it, and sometimes that person can use that later.
absolutely. Especially if they're sitting there in the final two chairs. God, I miss Big Brother. Last year we were rooting for, we're ready for reindeer games, and there's no reindeer games this year. I'm kind of spoiled. I'm a little bummed.
Well, we have plenty of good things coming up to tide us
We
over, so
do.
you don't have to worry about that. You got traders coming in January
We got worst cooks in America, our
and
villains,
Squid Game.
Squid Games, and yeah, we have apparently special forces on. No comment. Oh my God.
Let us know how that one is.
I will not. I will not be watching that. However, I do suggest highly that you watch The Floor because the season is unbelievably good.
Yes. Oh, we are going to soon. We
Yeah.
also just had the trailer for Deal or No Deal Island.
Yes, I want to mention that real quick. Our buddy Philip Solomon, cast member from We Are Family, is going to be on Deal or No Deal Island. And I don't know if you caught this from the trailer, Charlie, but it looks like he's in an alliance with poverty, which is interesting. I have to
Ooh,
say, it gave me goosebumps because I'm like, hey, I know this dude. That's pretty
that's
cool.
crazy.
Yeah. So him and Poverty in the trailer you watch, they're kind of like simpatico. It's interesting. Catch these little nuggets. And we will be talking about Deal or No Deal Island and about Philip and I have stories from our taping. He's just a good dude and I'm rooting for
Yeah.
him. I'm rooting for him. Yeah. So yeah, so Philip and Deal or No Deal. One more thing about the Deal or No Deal Island trailer. You have, of course, Dr. Will. He's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
He's
He's
your
like
guy.
he's walking off the ship going, yeah. And they're in this challenge in the trailer where they have to run fast, and he goes, I don't run fast. That's for suckers. I don't run fast.
That's funny.
That's gonna be a good season. I'm looking forward to it. It looks great. So rounding out to home. So the baseball rumors, I guess, are kind of percolating. A couple of news items I've read a little bit. Scott Kingery, um, the Angels, the Los Angeles Angels picked up Scott Kingery, and they avoided arbitration. They agreed to a $1 million a year 1 year contract with Scott Kingery. Oh, no, it wasn't 1 million. Sorry, I'm thinking of something else. Like 10,000 above league minimum was like
Yeah, he's
700 and
getting
something
770.
thousand.
Yeah.
Yeah, 770. Thank you. But yeah, so that I mean, I'm rooting for Scott Kingery, honestly. I mean, he really didn't get a shot. I think the pandemic really kind of slowed his progress down. He came up with dude from the Brewers. You know who I'm talking about. Hmm, my brain just went
Braun?
blah.
No.
Not Braun. I'm talking about the guy from Phillies who went to the Brewers.
Oh,
Reese
Hoskins.
Hoskins. Thank you. Reese
Yeah.
Hoskins. He came up with Hoskins, and Hoskins, you know, performed better and developed better, and so yeah, I'm hoping Scott can kind of get his foot together. I
Yeah.
was kind of
He
following
changed
him.
his scenery guy.
Yeah.
Angels have
Um,
been active. They also signed Kevin Newman the other day.
which is pretty
They
good.
they've they have probably to date the biggest trade and free agent acquisition. I mean, it's been kind of quiet so far, but they traded for Jorge Soler, and then they also signed Travis d'Arnaud. So hasn't really been anyone higher than that. D'Arnaud got 12 million for two, which is
Yeah, I guess as a
decent
backup
amount.
catcher for a hop.
Yeah, Logan O'Hoppe.
Um I think Travis Denard, former Met, of course. Travis was he was on the 2015 World Series team of the Mets, catching for Jacob deGrom and Noah Syndergaard, and he famously went to the Braves and have been doing well for the Braves. I've read that Braves fans were not too happy with that acquisition. They didn't want to see him go. He's a good clubhouse guy, apparently.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So there's a bunch of scenarios being floated around right now for the Mets, for example, that I'm seeing. I'm seeing Pete being there, Pete not being there. I'm seeing the Mets going after a certain first baseman who is high quality, I will say, for the Diamondbacks, right? Am I
Yep.
right?
You're right.
Um
He would be if they don't land Pete, he'd be an unbelievable guy to fall back on. I know you don't want to hear that, but there's also plenty of scenarios out there where they do have Pete still. So it's still too
so
early. I will safely say we'll record at least two more episodes and Pete will still be free
I
for the
will say
Mets.
this. I am thinking now that the odds are, I'll probably jinx myself, and that's okay. But I think the odds are pretty much around 75% that the Mets are gonna get Juan Soto. That's my feeling.
You're up to 75. Wow, I like the optimism.
I'm feeling very strong about it. I'm feeling very strong about it.
There hasn't been a ton on that front, except that his preliminary meeting with the Red Sox quote went well today. But I mean,
Interesting.
the Red Sox are in that 25%.
Listen, the Red Sox pocketbook, the Mets pocketbook.
Yeah. So that's that. So the rumor of their pitch was that they're ready to respend the last like 5 to 10 years. They've kind of fallen into like the eighth to 15th middle range of payroll, so to speak. But years before that, they were constantly running a top three, four payroll. Supposedly, in the pitch with all their young prospects coming up and that they're about ready to jump back into the upper echelon of payroll. So if they were to do that, theoretically they could offer Soto a lot of money, but I still think that they're I'd say plan C to Soto at least behind the two New York teams. It's I still think I think personally 75% might be a little high. And I love that optimism from you, though. I love it. I'm actually very surprised to hear it. I'm usually, you're usually swinging the doom and
You're
gloom.
usually the optimistic dude.
Yeah, but I'll say I do think the Mets. I still probably think the Mets are at minimum an equal 1A, 1B favorite with the Yankees. Like if I'd probably look at it in two scenarios. I'd probably say like 40-40 Yankees Mets and then 20% field, but I think that's too high of a field. So I do think the Yankees or the Mets are the big, strong front runner. I'll even say maybe 45-45 and then 10 to the field. You can throw like 3% to Boston, 2% to the Padres, throw a few percent.
1% to the Cubs.
You give the Cubs maybe 1/10 of 1%. The Cubs
Well, you
are
know what?
in the Cubs are in the what they call error. They're in this error of scale.
I understand. But
It's not happening.
I think you're the more realistic. You're definitely the stats guy. You know kind of where this is headed, and I'm the fan of the team, so I kind of go with
I think the
your
Mets got a great chance. I
synopsis.
really do. I don't think you're wrong about that.
Here's where I'm 100, and I'm gonna really throw it out there because I know you're 10% to the field, but I'm pretty much 100% that he is going to go to a New York team. It's going to be either the Mets or the Yankees.
Yeah,
I don't
I'd say
even doubt
90.
that.
I'd
I
say
know because
90.
you had to get 10% to the team. I
I
understand.
forgot another 2%. You know who you could throw another 2% to?
The Dodgers.
Nah, I really don't think he's going to end up there. I'd give the Dodgers maybe 1%, only if the market doesn't develop, but Soto's market will develop. You know who I think could be another wild card team?
Let me guess. Um, Not the Braves because they're too damn cheap. Um, they're not. Let me think. Let me think.
This team has not been named yet
Really?
in this conversation.
Oh, in this conversation, Cardinals.
They're slashing payroll. They're done.
What do you think?
Cubs.
So who do you think?
Who was a surprise player that almost nabbed the last time we had one of these big ones that hasn't been mentioned? And I'm talking about Shohei.
You're not talking about Shohei. Who?
No, I'm saying Shohei. So
Oh,
who was the team that for like an hour everybody thought was getting Shohei?
it was between the Dodgers and the. I thought Shohei was like Dodgers, Mets.
And
Who am I missing?
you're missing somebody.
I don't remember. Jeez.
How about okay? How
All right,
about
give me a clue. This is like,
this division has already mentioned at least two Soto suitors.
oh, you're talking about my division?
Or the other team in New York's division.
Oh, all right. So you're talking about the American League East Orioles?
Nope.
Not the Whites. No, they're Central.
Not the
Um,
Rays.
Not the
So at least
Rays.
one team.
All right, wait, hold on. Let me. Oh, the Blue Jays?
Yeah, the Blue Jays.
Oh, you think he's gonna go to
Yeah.
Toronto?
What's that?
You think he's gonna go to Toronto?
No, I think they're the wild card because
So,
they were willing to offer 500 to 600 for Shohei. People thought they were going to get him at the last minute. They've got that that Canadian communications company money. I think they're a wild card. I think they're in
but
the mix and they're going to offer him a huge
but
amount.
isn't the issue taxes in Canada or something like that with the Blue Jays? And that's
I
why
mean,
Shohei didn't go.
they're going to offer him 50 million more than any other team. Then
I
he's not
forgot
going to.
about the Blue Jays. Wow. Yeah.
I think they're a 2% wild card.
Well, I look at it this way. I think whatever team ends up winning, getting Soto, it's going to be because they're World Series ready. They're very World Series ready. That's why I don't think the Red Sox are really there yet. I mean, they're being ready to spend is not the same thing as being there, if you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
they
Because
were.
there's
They did finish over
development.
500 last year, and they have six top 100 prospects. So theoretically, I mean, I could see the pitch that they're giving.
I think the
You could
team
see it.
I think the team that lands him is a team that was in the playoffs. That's what I think. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
It's going to be interesting. Back to Pete real quick. I mean, it's the interesting part of Pete Alonso outside of the Mets is that he brings some concern to other teams only because a lot of people view Pete as a one-trick pony. I know better. That he's more of that bat, and when the bat is hot, that bat is great, and when that bat is not so hot, not great. And he's an average first baseman. Is really the thought process. Um, I value Pete, and the Mets would value Pete more because of his association with the team. He's the clubhouse guy. He's really well liked by his fellow team members and the fans. Most of us that have a brain. You know,
I would still put my prediction on Pete returning to the Mets.
I agree with that. I
I'd
agree.
probably say 60% Mets, 40% field on Pete.
The Mets are
That's what
the
my
only
gut's telling me.
logical. The Mets are the only logical place. I'm not sure the Nationals want to spend that amount of money. I mean, where they're at right now. And the Marlins are never going to spend that kind of money. And if they do, it's only going to be a lender, as we've talked about in the previous podcast. I think Alcantara is on his way out. I don't
And
think
you
they're going
don't
to
have to
keep
worry
him.
about the Braves or the Phillies there because they've got first base occupied.
And the Braves are cheap anyway. But yes, the Braves and Phillies have first base occupied. I think I agree with you. I think this is a dance right now, and I think Pete goes to the Mets.
And you also got to think as a diehard Met and Pete fan, had he left and you gun to your head, no other scenario, he has to be in the NL East. Washington might be one of your best choices because you don't want to see him go to Atlanta or Philly. So
Absolutely, absolutely. Ooh, ooh,
small
it's gonna be
consolations.
interesting. Any,
You'll get to fret about it for a few more weeks at least. Don't worry.
yeah, yay me.
I'm
um,
telling you right now, we don't have either signing before your birthday.
oh no, because I think it's gonna happen during or after the winter meetings. I
Yeah, it's
don't.
definitely, I think it extends to December, but I hope we do have a few other signings by your birthday. Hopefully,
That
we
would be
next
nice.
time we have more to hit on than Travis Darno. No offense to him, he's a fine player, but
That's not. We're kind of
yeah,
on the lower level.
we need one of those like
Superstar, like
six player trades, two team 6 player trades.
I've been hearing rumors about the Mets and the White Sox kind of dancing that dance, so we'll
That would be
see.
interesting. We will see.
We'll see how that works. Yeah, any rumors or rumblings with the Cubbies?
Nah, nothing worth of substance. Hap, I think it might have already happened by the time we did our last one, but Hap won his third Gold Glove.
Yeah.
Shota and Lindor, all MLB second team. Tubbs and
Yep.
Mets with a player each, so that was
They
pretty
didn't
cool.
they didn't announce the MVP yet.
No, that's next week.
Next week. Okay.
They
Yeah,
announced
I
the
mean,
finalists.
yeah, and Lindor, of course, is a finalist, but
Yeah,
Shohei is the favorite to win.
yeah, Lindor is
So
gonna probably get second, but still not bad.
it's crazy that Shohei is MVP in a year that he didn't even pitch. And it's not crazy. Don't get me wrong. Going 50, I mean, that 50 to 50, you can't. I mean, as
Yeah,
soon as that happened, I was like, okay, Lindor.
yeah.
But yeah,
There
yeah,
was a while where Lindor was really pushing for him, but then Shohei just went nuclear in September.
crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy. Well, that's about it, right? That's
Yeah,
what we
that's about it.
got.
Hopefully we have some more to talk about next time, baseball wise.
Absolutely. I'm sure we will. This has been Around the Bases, the pop culture and sports podcast with your host.
Charlie Seymour.
And I'm Tim Sternberg. Check me out on Trivial Pursuit this Thursday at 9
Let's
o'clock.
go,
Let's
Tim.
go. We'll see you next week. And
TV Tim back in his natural habitat.
next episode, we'll talk all about it. Bye,
Looking
everybody.
forward to it.